السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى وسلم على سيدنا محمد سيدنا وسندنا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا مولانا صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه. Before jumping into our dars for the day from the Kitab Jami' of the Risalat ibn Abi Zayd Al-Qayrawani, there are a couple of things I wanted to mention from beforehand. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to Sheikh Musa Ferber. Unfortunately, it seems that the stream is munakis, it's like a mirror image, but he sent me this book as a gift. It is Sheikh Sulami's Wasiyyah, Practical Advice for Muslim Spiritual Self-Care, translation and notes by Sheikh Musa Ferber. And it's a really nice book. It's a beautiful book. It's a short work. It's a concise work. And things like this, I think they are reading as a family. You sit your kids down, sit your missus, your husband down, sit down, read something that is simple in its simple but hard-hitting in its content, and think about it and ponder it and discuss it with one another. And things like this bear repetition. They should be stated and talked about again and again. So it's a sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, when you receive a gift, to just receive this as a gift from Sheikh Musa, that you should use it immediately in front of the person. So we read just one of the Wasiyyah, the Wasiyyah number 7. Accompany the elite. Here we're talking about the spiritual elite, the people who are elite in their deen. Accompany the elite and avoid the wicked. Habituate yourself to keeping company of the elite and keeping far from the wicked. It is related that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever resembles a people is one of them. So this hadith, oftentimes people use it in a negative sense. Man tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum. It's narrated. The footnote says in Abu Dawood. It's usually like, don't dress like such and such kafir, because otherwise you'll be one of them. And undoubtedly there is that meaning in it as well. But if you man tashabbaha biqawmin, if you imitate or resemble good people, inshallah, it's hoped that you'd be one of them as well. At least that's like the wave we're trying to ride. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his qawl is haqq. And he, may Allah bless him, give him peace, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, whoever loves a people is one of them. He also said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people are with the ones that they love. And he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not accompany anyone except for a believer, and do not feed anyone your food except for one who fears Allah. Abu Tarab al-Nakhshi said, keeping company with evil people leads to assuming evil in those who are good as well. And so, Jazakallah khairan, inshallah, we'll benefit from this work with our family, and inshallah, I encourage others to purchase this work and purchase and support the original works of the ulama who write in English, patronize them, because we either learn to appreciate blessings in one of two ways, either by showing shukr for them or through the regret in having lost them. And these are good things, mashallah. I know not too long ago myself, my own experiences, my own memory is that darses of Maliki fiqh and darses of Shafi'i fiqh and Hanafi fiqh and hadith and this and that, qira'at, all of these branches of knowledge, they weren't available to us in an age not really all that long ago. So inshallah, wala in shakartum la azidannakum, if you show your shukr through your appreciation, inshallah, there will be a culture of learning and of teaching and of writing and translating and of reading and of books, inshallah, that we'll benefit from. So that's that. The second thing I wanted to say before getting to back to our reading is that I was forwarded a clip, an audio clip from one of my teachers from Madrasa, Maulana Khalid Mahmoud, who is different than the Allama Khalid Mahmoud, who is a sheikh of Sheikh Amin, although he was named after him. So this Maulana Khalid that I learned from, I read a Jild of the Hidayah from him. I read the back half of the Mishkats from him. I read Muslim from him. I read the Sharhman al-Athar from him, which is a book that very few people have the capability to read, much less teach. I read a number of works from him, and really found him to be probably the most intelligent person I've ever met in my life. His brother sent me an audio clip of one of his talks on this occasion, and he mentioned a number of things in which there's a great amount of hikmah. But one thing I thought I wanted to share with the audience was that he said that it's interesting how people who are haters, people who are haters of deen, they always say, like, look at this, like, you guys call yourself big ulama and you're talking about wudu and istinja and washing your hands and, like, just basic simple things, and the kuffar have made it to the moon and back. He says, look at this waba, this plague. Now people are tuning in to learn about and listen about how to make istinja and how to wash your hands. Literally there's like Harvard scientists telling you about how to wash your hands properly. And these are the things that have been taught from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ for such a long time. And the other interesting thing he said also, he says that, if you want to have some value and benefit in your deen, then make ta'alluq with your local ulama. Find someone who's a learned person and keep your ta'alluq, your connection with them. He said, don't go after the YouTube movie. And how ironic and how awkward for me to mention that right now and right here and right now. But it's true. Make ta'alluq and keep ta'alluq with your local ulama and learn from them, and be a person of content rather than a consumer of content. Be a person of substance rather than a consumer of substance. Don't be a consumer of entertainment. Rather, you should be the one that when you enter the room, people say, wah wah, guftar, dil barhana, didar ka hairana. Like Allama Iqbal describes the believer, that whenever he speaks, it makes the heart grow, and whenever people see him, they're left astonished and amazed. So please, and that happens by you're chipping away at your own nafs and working on yourself and gathering those durus one dars at a time, in sequential order, that give you a dhakhira of knowledge rather than hearing the whack job rantings of YouTube Islamotainers. Which is a nice segue into the next and the last thing I wanted to talk about before jumping into the text again, which is that there was a little bit of discussion on social media in the last 24 hours. A well-known individual who mentioned very nonchalantly that, I believe that Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam died, and this is the qawl of Malik as well. And so then, people will scramble and they'll come to me and say, is it true? Is it true? And the first thing I say as a practical matter is what we said, don't take your deen from your, don't take your deen from your from your YouTube stars. Rather, take them from the people of knowledge, the people you have ta'alluq with, the people that you take your durus one by one, and the people who, no matter how good or slick or lack of slickness they show, they are people who you trust their knowledge. So we're left to deconstruct. We're left to deconstruct what's there. So before we go to Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, we go to a source that is even more, I guess, impressive than the attribution to Malik about this qawl, with regards to the kalamullah tabarak wa ta'ala, إِذْ قَالَ اللَّهُ يَا عِيسَى إِنِّي مُتَوَفِّيكَ وَرَافِعُكَ وَمُطَهِّرُكَ مِنَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَجَاعِلُ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوكَ فَوْقَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا إِلَى يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ ثم إلي مرجعكم فأحكم بينكم فيما كنتم فيه تختلفون. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "O Isa, indeed, I will make your tawaffi, and I will raise you up to me, and I will purify you from those who disbelieve, and I will make those who follow you over those who disbelieve until the day of judgment. Then all of you will return to me, and I will judge between you with regards to those things that you differed. And so this word tawafi, in the Arabic language, there's a possibility of it meaning a number of things. It could mean just to take somebody. It could mean to take their ruh in death as a metaphorical meaning. The literal meaning is to take something or to fulfill something. But metaphorically, it could mean death, and it also could mean to fulfill like reward, or to fulfill a payment, or take something like that. So in Sahih Bukhari, it is mentioned that Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhuma, his opinion is that the word tawafi here means death. And then thereafter, it is mentioned in the Utbiyyah. The Utbiyyah is a collection of the fatwa of Imam Malik, and it's a second tier collection of Malik's fatwa. The first tier of Malik's fatwa are taken from those few comments about fiqh in the Muwatta that are there, as well as the Mudawwanat al-Kubra, which was compiled by Sahnun after his painstaking collection of his opinions and fatwa from his students, the main students being Abdullah bin Wahab and Abdurrahman ibn Qasim, the two main students of Malik. And then thereafter there are some other students, but they're not the canonical transmitters of Malik's opinions. So what happens is, when the madhab is being put together, the Mudawwana is where the backbone of the madhab is taken from. And then those issues in which Malik's opinion isn't transmitted in the Mudawwana, then the Wasiyyah, the Utbiyyah, these other works, second tier works, if something is reported from Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, then the chains of narration are scrutinized. And sometimes some of the masail are taken from there, or directions taken from them. Although in general, if there is a tanaqud, if there is some sort of disagreement between the riwayah of the Mudawwana and these other books, generally the Mudawwana is preferred. And there's good reason for it. There is a lot of stuff that's narrated in the Utbiyyah that many of the ulama feel has no basis. So the Utbiyyah has a commentary, Al-Bayan al-Tahsil, by Ibn Rushd al-Jad, the Ibn Rushd, the grandfather, not the one who wrote the Bidayat al-Mujtahid, but his grandfather, who wrote the Muqaddimat. And he's a great muhaqqiq of the Maliki school in Andalus. Al-Bayan al-Tahsil, and the point of the Bayan al-Tahsil, or at least part of it, is in order to kind of sift through the content of the Utbiyyah and rate its various contents, and comment on the suitability or usability for them for ilmi purposes, for ilmi purposes. So in that Utbiyyah, it's mentioned that it's mentioned that Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma and Wahb bin Munabbih, they say innahu wafatu mawtan inni mutawaffika, like in the ta'liq of Bukhari is inni mumituka, وهو ظاهر قول مالك في جامع الأتبية. قال مالك مات عيسى وهو ابن 31 سنة. قال ابن رشد في بيان التحصيل يحتمل أن قوله مات وهو ابن 33 على حقيقة لا على المجاز. So the second-rate book of Maliki fatwa, the qawl is attributed to Malik rahimahullah ta'ala. So first of all, for the purposes of and second of all, this idea that mutawaffika means mumituka, that I make your tawafi, meaning I give you death. This also, there's a number of ihtimalat of what they could mean. That doesn't necessarily mean that Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam passed away. And the Utbiyyah, if it's a second-rate book for Maliki fatwa, then it means that it's not really like your prime place that you're going to go out looking for opinions on aqidah. So we turn to sort through some of these opinions to the Jami' fi Ahkam al-Quran of Qurtubi, also known as the Tafsir Qurtubi. to the public. And Qurtubi rahimahullah ta'ala was a faqih of the first rate, and he was a mutakallim of the first rate, and he was a muhaddith of transcends just one madhab, because the hikayah of the other schools is relatively accurate, not only in saying what their positions are, but in understanding why they held the positions that they did. And his skill in bringing a hadith and bringing chains of narration, his skill in bringing the lugha, not just the nahu, not just a syntactical grammar, but also as an adib, as a person who is a master of Arabic literature, which is important. Why? Because when you make a claim that a word means a certain thing, you have to have a dalil, you have to have some sort of proof that it does. And so you're not going to look at, like, what did Webster write in in the year like 100 before Hijrah, but you have to be able to bring the kalam of the Arabs, the fasih and baligh, eloquent words of the Arabs, which is enshrined more in the poetry than it is in the prose. Although he'll bring both of them as on this way of istishhad in order to prove what he's saying. So he first of all doesn't even mention the opinion, or sorry, the narration of Malik in the Utbiyyah with regards to Malik saying that Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam died. So that's important to understand. Second of all, he does mention the opinion that there were from the ulama, including Ibn Abbas, that said that mutawaffika means mumituka, that it means that I give you death, and he'll deal with it. And just to be clear, when we say it's in Bukhari, because the thing is that this whoever famous individual said this opinion, and then in the whatever cascade of comments underneath, is surprised that your famous Fulan said this. Why? Because even Bukhari says this. And where it says that Bukhari, where in Sahih Bukhari it says that mutawaffika means mumituka from Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anhu, it's not even a hadith of Bukhari, it's what we call a ta'liq. What is a ta'liq? It is a matan, a text of a report in which only the first narrator is mentioned, and then the chain of narration is not mentioned. And so the ta'liqat of Bukhari are not a hadith of Bukhari, strictly speaking. And in fact, not all of them are sahih. Some of them don't even have any asl at all anyway. Some of them don't even have a chain of narration, weak or otherwise. Hadith that are brought with a chain of narration. As for the ta'liqat, as for the chapter headings, he mentions this and that here and there, that this person said this person said that, or even that the Prophet ﷺ said this, but he doesn't bring a chain of narration. Those hadiths, anyone who's read Bukhari before knows that those hadiths are not included in the same category as the ones that are brought with the chains of narration, and some of them are very debatable or very controversial, mukhtalif fiha, to the point where some of the ulama say that they don't, that some of those statements have no asl whatsoever anyway. They have no basis in the first place. And so the first thing is that this quote from Abdullah bin Abbas is from the ta'liqat, it's not from the hadith of Bukhari. Secondly, Qurtubi rahimahullah ta'ala, in his synthesis of all of these disparate skill sets that we brought, which is why his tafsir is so often quoted and why it's so good, is because he's able to synthesize all of these things and go through like the rush, the rush and the do that. Because not all opinions are equal. Just because someone said something or someone reported that someone said something doesn't mean that they're all equal and they're all the same. And definitely the overwhelming and preponderant majority of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah held that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam didn't die. And so he discusses some of that in his tafsir, so I wanted to read from that as well. قوله تعالى إذ قال الله فعل مضمر. Sorry, not makruan, makaru, afwan. So the amil, so he says that when Allah says, there's some grammar here, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O Isa," when Allah ta'ala said, O Isa, indeed I will make your tawafi. The when, the when that is being referred to is makaru, that when the which is from the previous ayah, with regards to some of the ahwal of Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam. The previous ayahs, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ, that they plotted and Allah plotted and Allah is the best of plotters. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya Isa, I'm going to make your tawafi, that when that's being referred to is when that plot was being made or being hatched. أو فعل مضمر, أو فعل مضمر, or perhaps there is an assumed verb in the sentence that's not apparent. It's not being it wasn't written explicitly, but it's assumed to be happening. وقال جماعة من أهل المعاني منهم الضحاك والفراء في قوله تعالى إني متوفيك ورافعك إلي على تقديم والتأخير. And so a group of those people who are the rhetoricians of the Arabic language, the experts in rhetoric, from amongst them in the syntactical grammar of the Arabic language, as well as the understanding of what expressions mean what, can mean what, and don't mean what. They say that this expression here is على التقديم والتأخير, meaning the order in which they're mentioned are not the order in which they happen. لأن الواو لا توجب الرتبة, because واو as an amal, as a amil afwan, as a what they call harfu atf, it doesn't, when you make a list of things and you put waw in the middle of them, waw doesn't necessitate grammatical order. والمعنى إني رافعك إلي ومطهرك من الذين كفروا ومتوفيك بعد أن تنزل من السماء. And the meaning here is that the wording is that I will take you in death. If a person were to mean tawafi here as death, the meaning is what? I will take you in death. And here is what? Is that I will raise you and I'll purify you from those who disbelieve, and then I will take you in death after bringing you up into the heavens. Now, someone might say, well, you just made this up and you're coming up with this bogus interpretation in order to what? In order to extricate the belief of the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And so Qurtubi, mashallah, in his excellent style, he brings a proof of where this happens in other places in the Quran as well. كقوله تعالى لولا كلمة سبقت من ربك لكان لزاما وأجل مسمى. If it wasn't for a word that preceded all of this from your Lord, it would have been a lizam. It would have been you would have been gotten by this, and you would have found yourself at a preordained date. والتقدير لولا كلمة سبقت من ربك وأجل مسمى لكان لزاما. And this is from Surah Taha. That here what is mentioned is the preordained ruling of the Lord, and then the ajal comes, then the date or the appointment comes, and then the lizam, right? So the ayah mentions what? That there's the preordination of the hukum, and then you're taken into account, and then the ajal musamma, then the preordained date. They're mentioned in this order in the ayah. However, rationally, you know that first the preordained order comes from Allah, then the ajal musamma, then your appointment comes, meaning what? Your death in the Yawm al-Qiyamah, and then afterward the lizam happens, the being taken to task, right? So the ayah is Lola kalimatun sabaqat min rabbika lakana lizaman wa ajalun musamma. But the chronological order is what? Is the kalimatun sabaqat min rabbika, then the ajal musamma, then the lizam. And for the purposes of emphasizing the aqiba, the end result of all of this, the thing that happens later is brought forward, and then the thing that happens earlier is mentioned later. من ذات عرق عليك رحمة الله السلام. He says that here عليك رحمة الله السلام. In the order of saying, you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, but the poet will bring the rahmatullah forward and then put the salam back, because this is also permissible according to the rhetorical device of taqdeem and ta'khir. And then Qurtubi mentions that أي عليك السلام ورحمة الله. وقال أبو الحسن والجريج معنى متوفيك قابضك ورافعك إلى السماء من غير موت. So now he mentions the standard of any without any death involved. مثل توفيت مالي من فلان أي قبضته. And the use of this expression توفي here is like when a person says that I made tawafi of my money, meaning I took possession of it, I took fulfillment of it. وقال وهب بن منبه توفى الله عيسى عليه السلام 3 ساعات من نهار ثم رفعه إلى السماء وهذا فيه بعد. He said Wahb bin Munabbih says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let him die for 3 hours and then raised him into the heavens. And Qurtubi mentions that this is, I find this far-fetched. فإنه صح في الأخبار عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم نزوله وقتله الدجال على ما بيناه في كتاب التذكرة. I find it far-fetched, not just because, you know, that's what he wants or that's what his style is or whatever. He says the reason he finds it far-fetched is that it's very clear from the Sahih Akhbar of the Prophet ﷺ, from the Sahih Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that he will come down again and he will kill the Dajjal. All of which he says we explain clearly in our book, At-Tadhkirah. It's a book that he wrote about the Ahwal of the Akhirah. It's a very powerful book and well-known book. And so he says that, and also in this book, also what I have mentioned and what I'll mention subsequently. For those reasons, I find it far-fetched. Now, interestingly, when he talks about the Sahih Athar, you know, from the ulama, from the mashayikh, there are those who actually claim that the return of Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam is from those things that are mutawatira, that so many different ahadith mention them, that it's impossible that the return of Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam could have been made up or forged from conspiracy or subject to some sort of misunderstanding. And from amongst the ulama that wrote and compiled and gathered the hadith in this meaning are Suyuti and Shawkani. And from amongst the mashayikh of our mashayikh, Maulana Anwar Shah Kashmiri rahimahullah ta'ala, we mentioned yesterday or day before, I believe yesterday in the Dars of the Shama'il, and we mentioned from before as well, who was a sheikh of Allama Yusuf bin Nuri, the Bani of the Nuri Town Madrasa, and he's also the sheikh of Mufti Shafi', the father of Mufti Taqi. And Mufti Shafi' is the one who compiled this dars of his, in which he brings 75 different ahadith and 25 athar from the unique by matan, but also over 100 awsaf of Sayyidina Isa's return are mentioned between those ahadith. And to give you to give you some sort of idea, whenever you have 75 hadiths mentioning anything, that's a really big deal. Many of the important masabik, even though some of them will be weak, as long as they're not matruk or munkar or mawdu', as long as they're qabil al-ihtijaj for anything, you know, there's some, it's like a big deal. It's not like a small matter. And so he holds the opinion that the hayat of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam and his return are from tawatur. And this is an opinion ratified by the Sheikh Muhammad Zahid al-Kawthari, the adjunct to the last Sheikh al-Islam of the Ottoman Empire, and his students, the lineage of his students, Said Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, Sheikh Awama, who is with us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect him and give him long life, as well as the Mashayikh of Deoband. And they make a very convincing case. There's a program that we had in the Christmas break in the Islamic Center of Cleveland, in which we read the book in which that dars was compiled, of those 75 hadiths and the 25 athar thereafter, as well as the explanation and of the book and the explanation of the book, why it was compiled, what the meaning of it is, who it compiled also by Mufti Shafi, the father of Mufti Taqi Uthmani, rahimahullah wa hafidhahullah tabarak wa ta'ala. And interestingly enough, that book is published under the tahqiq and ta'liq, under the edition, edited edition of Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, who also puts ta'liq on it as well, who also puts his own footnotes in it as well, and praises the Sheikh Maulana Anwar Shah, Khatimatul Huffaz. He was a genuine hafiz of hadith. He had a photographic memory, that he praises him for compiling this book, in which an issue which was, I guess, assumed by a lot of people in the past, but was not written about to the point where its knowledge was still alive amongst a portion who wishes to argue against that position, is put in a very difficult place, in a very tenuous position. So now, there's a difference between believing in the return of Sayyiduna Isa and believing that he died. So someone may say, well, I believe he will return for sure, but that he died. Consideration of how is it that someone dies in Jannah and someone dies twice, and what is the meaning of death in Jannah anyway? And so we continue reading from here, and Qurtubi is very clear that the standard wahidun walam yamut ba'du, that mutawaffika, I make your tawaffi means I take you to myself, and I make your tawaffi and raise you up. Both of them mean the same thing, and he never died, alayhissalam. وروى أبو طلحة عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهم. وروى ابن طلحة عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما معنى متوفيك مميتك. And then Ibn Talha narrates from Ibn Abbas رضي الله عنه that mutawaffika here means that I give you death. And if the meaning of it is that I give you death, then it's it still fits with the standard model of three things happen, but they don't happen in that order. والربيع بن أنس وهي وفاة نوم قال الله تعالى وهو الذي يتوفاكم بالليل لأن النوم أخو الموت. Rabi' bin Anas here says that the word tawaffi means the tawaffi of sleep. Allah Ta'ala says that He's the one who gives you tawaffi in the nighttime, meaning what? That He gives you sleep, because sleep is the brother of death. Just like the Prophet ﷺ said when he was asked, كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم لما سئل أفي الجنة نوم قال لا النوم أخو الموت والجنة لا موت فيها. That the Prophet ﷺ was asked, will you sleep in Jannah? He says, no, because sleep is the brother of death, and there is no death in Jannah. أخرجه الدارقطني. الدارقطني narrates that. والصحيح أن الله تعالى رفعه إلى السماء من غير وفاة ولا نوم كما قال الحسن وابن زيد. And the correct opinion is that Allah Most High raised him to the heavens, not having given him death, nor in the state of sleep, as was mentioned by Al-Hasan and Ibn Zayd. وهو اختيار طبري عفوا, and it is the from all the opinions of the different mufassirin, the preferred opinion of Tabari. وهو الصحيح عن ابن عباس, and it is the most correct opinion that's narrated from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma. وقاله الضحاك, and Dhahak said that this is also the opinion that is narrated from Al-Dhahak rahimahullah tabarak wa ta'ala. So that's by far not the only thing that's mentioned in this entry. but it is the part of what's relevant that I wanted to mention right now, because this is an important issue, and I don't really like the fact that people mess around with it. And the standard position is what of the Ahl Sunnah is what is that he didn't die. Now, why is it that we make a big deal about it? I guess there was another thing that I wanted to mention without making this too long of a discussion. But then again, it is something that requires some. It does require, and it does warrant and merit. Some discussion, and that is because of another statement of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala in His book. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. That they didn't kill Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam, and they didn't crucify him, and certainly they didn't kill him. And certainly they didn't kill him. Or the meaning could also mean that they aren't able to say with certainty that they killed him. The point is that the quote unquote death of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam is the foundation and basis of the batil aqaid of what becomes Pauline Christianity. And it is not obviously from the teachings of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. His teachings have to do with his life. They don't have to do with stuff that happens after he passes. And just like in this ummah, you'll see like a fake peer, a fake Sufi sheikh will claim that I saw so-and-so sheikh in a dream, and he invested me with his successorship, and he said that everything you say is like on my behalf. And then afterward, like gullible people like, oh my God, like that sheikh was really pious and righteous, so you must also be like a big time spiritual person. And then people with common sense are like, well, how do I know that this actually happened, right? So the same thing that happened with the entire deen of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. This is actually one of the meanings of Allah Ta'ala in the same ayah that we read, that Allah Ta'ala says that I will make those people who believe in you over those people who disbelieve in you until the day of judgment. Qurtubi explains, he says, like, he mentions three different groups of the Nasara, one group that said that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam didn't die, and the other two groups that did, and those two groups gathered together and conspired to kill that third group. And the victory Allah gave to the group that believed in him over the groups that disbelieved, because those two other groups will then use the quote unquote death of Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam as the foundation for their aqaid of shirk, of polytheism, because the whole narrative is that this is the Son of God, and God gave his Son as a sacrifice in order to atone for the sins of mankind, blah 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 ad nauseum, like we all fall short of the glory of God, which I don't even understand what that sentence means, but it's like a standard script, the pitch that you get from those people who are evangelizing the good news of Christianity, the good news, which I'm sure was good news for some people, but not for those people who were brought here in shackles, and for those people who were force converted in the Reconquista or whatever. But coming back to the issue is that what all of that requires what? It requires believing that he died, alayhissalam wal iyadhu billah. And what is the text of the Quran saying? That they didn't kill him, and they didn't crucify him, and they certainly didn't kill him. This is a very emphatic statement. Now, someone could, for the sake of argument, could say, well, like, they didn't kill him, Allah killed him afterward, after having saved him. That's really problematic for a number of reasons. Why? Because it opens the door for his death to have happened, and B, there's all these emphatic statements about him not dying, and C, he's going to come back anyway, and everyone only dies once. So from a rational perspective, it's very problematic to claim that he died. Now, obviously, aqaid are not built by qiyas, they're not built by rational analogies of this with that. However, what I would say is that just like it doesn't really, the script doesn't make sense this way. If a person wants to insist that he did die, wal iyadhu billah, alayhi salam, then let them come with some sort of overwhelming proof, Right now, what do we have? We have a second-rate narration, a narration from a second-rate book of Maliki Fatwa, and we have a ta'liq of Bukhari, which is not even a hadith of Bukhari. And even the ta'liq of Bukhari, the meaning of it can be sound without meaning that he's died already, because of the whole taqdeem and ta'khir rhetorical device which Qurtubi mentions. And then, you know, obviously, this is not only a key point, the necessity of believing that Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam died, not only is it a key point around which the batil aqaid of shirk that came into the Nasara, around which it revolves and upon which it hinges, it also on top of that is a necessary component of the aqaid of the Qadianis. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them to something better and give them the tawbah to return to Islam and to the deen. So that's it. That mashallah took up 3/4 of our dars, but I feel like it was something worth talking about. It's something that should be talked about. People say, well, why don't you name names? And you know, I don't want to give this issue, you know, I don't want to make this into a bigger thing and draw more attention to the people. It's not about personalities. I have no beef with any personality. Why would I have a beef with personality? If Donald Trump tomorrow, Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu and the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, and like, you know, like all of these people, if they made Tawbah and wanted to walk the path of righteousness, I don't have any problem with them as human beings. And you know, if I feel like, you know, someone's misguidance is actually causing people to leave Islam or whatever, and there's some benefit in saying the names after having attempted to contact the individual and talk to them privately, you know, then it is a duty to announce things publicly if there's a benefit in it. I don't think there's I don't think there's a benefit in it. This individual in particular, I've tried to give him nasiha in the past, in private, and he's like blown up at me. And I've had to hear some really insulting things from him, and alhamdulillah, by Allah's fadl, I didn't reciprocate with him. You know, it was very interesting. One of those times was in the aisle of a conference, and I just, like I said, well, I just disagree with you, and I think it's unfortunate that you know, you feel like the right to talk like that with me, but like, you know, I'm sorry. And a woman came to me, and she was an old woman who didn't seem like super intellectual or someone who was following the debate or discussion at all. But she just said to me, like, you know, oh, you know, I don't know what y'all were talking about, but this man, he was just being like, he was just blasting you, and you were just like silent, and like you took it with a lot of patience. So I wanted to say, you know, good for you that you, like, you know, you didn't like get angry at him back. And you know, Allahu alam, like I don't want to toot my own horn, because I know my own faults, and they're big, and they're much greater than any good I have inside of me. And you know, Allah knows, you know, who's who, you know, la tuzakku anfusakum huwa a'lamu biman taqa. But I feel like maybe Allah Ta'ala sent this old woman to say this to me, just to reassure me, so that a person doesn't doubt themselves so much that they you know, that even when they do something right, you know, from time to time, that they can't like accept that. So I tried, and Allah has witnessed that I don't want to cause beef with people or problems. If there's a need to say, we'll say it. But sometimes more important than refuting people and hacking them down, not sometimes, always more important than refuting people and hacking them down, is just rectifying the problem and just keeping personalities out of it. And if I'm wrong, let somebody, like I pray that I'm wrong. It's so much easier to be wrong. If someone says, you know, boom, 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 here are where you made mistakes, this is where you're wrong, I'll be the first one to come and say, look, alhamdulillah, you know, someone so and so, Allah reward them, they pointed out my my errors, and I can accept them as well. And like, what am I going to do? Like, what is what are 15 dervishes that listen to my YouTube channel, Masakin? They're all broke. They're broke as me. They're broker than I am. They're not going to give me anything in the dunya anyway. So like, what am I trying to impress anybody? Those people are all there for the same reason I'm here, that we're trying to somehow, you know, learn something and make ourselves better people, and maybe in the process the Rabb Tabarak wa Ta'ala will be pleased with us, and we can we can move on to bigger and better things. So I don't mind being wrong, and sometimes it's easier to be wrong. It's just to admit and move on. But it's not about the personalities. It's about rectifying what's broken or what's been incorrectly presented. And in that sense, instead of like clamoring or chomping at the bit to name names and like crucify people, ironic, we're talking about Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam. Instead of chomping at the bit to crucify people, oftentimes a very productive course of action is just to try to amplify those voices that are saying what's right. And I'm not saying that's me, whoever it is, whoever is saying what's right and saying it in a good way, in a positive way, in a way that people will benefit from and people will grow from. Let's amplify those voices and not, have this like very American and very Protestant need to like just rip people apart, celebrities and famous people apart, and like just glory in their pain or in their incorrectness or whatever. I wish everybody well. I wish well to everybody. I wish well even to my enemies and to the enemies of Islam, in as much as wishing them well means that you hope Allah gives them guidance and the tawfiq to make tawbah and stop from doing the evil that they're doing. So we wish everybody well, like our Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. And we mentioned that hadith the other day in the dars from Maulana Tamim's book about the sacrifices of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, available by Noor Publications, sold at cost. And if you want to follow along with the dars and actually study the book, and you can't afford the book at cost, Maulana told me to tell the people that for them to write to him, noorpublications.org, and they will send a book free of charge. But the hadith of Uqbah ibn Abi Mu'ayt, when he dumped the entrails, the camel, on the Prophet ﷺ's back while he's making sajda, and Sayyidah Fatima literally had to help get the entrails off of him for him to get out from it, because it was just such a massive gunk that was thrown on him while his Mubarak head was in sajda in the place of aman, in the Masjid al-Haram, in the place of peace and security and safety. That was violated by this just really horrible person, Uqbah ibn Abi Mu'ayt. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his dua against them was what? Allahumma alayka bi mala'il Allahumma alayka mala'il Quraysh, Allahumma alayka bi mala'il Quraysh, Allahumma alayka bi Utbah ibn Rabi'ata wa Shaybah ibn Rabi'ata wa Abi Jahl bin Hisham. إلى آخر الحديث كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He says, oh Allah, alayka mean what? I leave them to you. I leave them to you, to your judgment. He didn't say, Ya Allah, destroy them. He didn't say, Ya Allah, kill them. Ya Allah, rip them piece from piece. Ya Allah, humiliate them. No, he says, I leave them to you. I leave them to you. And those were some really bad characters, and very I don't know if people that bad we're gonna come across in our lifetimes. So like I have no desire to rip people apart. Inshallah, if famous Fulan wants to, like, I don't know, stop saying this thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept it from him and make him even famouser than he already is, and even more glorious and more YouTube followers and more. And none of that stuff bothers me, inshallah. Inshallah, if he's using it for deen, it will be good for him in this world and in the hereafter as well. I have no problem with any of that. Even our friend, the two-eyed Dajjal from Birmingham, he would give all sorts of weird aberrant fiqh positions. I never said anything. It's only when he started spouting the aqaid of kufr, in making inkar that Sayyiduna Isa alayhissalam is dead and he won't come back, etc., which is a far worse statement than what this individual made. Even though both are bad and they're both they seem to be progressing in the same line of badness, but one is much more far gone. Even him, until it was that he crossed this weird line where he started making inkar of Sahih Bukhari and all of these other really necessary things of deen. I never like even spoke a word against him, even though I disagreed with a lot of what he said. He claims he's a Maliki, but most of his fiqh opinions were at odds with the madhab of Malik. I didn't, whatever, because fiqh, there's difference of opinion, and aqidah, the differences of opinion become much more perilous therein. So that's that. كما قال سبحانه وتعالى وعلى المؤمن أن يستغفر لأبويه المؤمنين وعليه موالاة المؤمنين والنصيحة لهم. And so this is, I guess, a real good segue for us to at least read a couple of words from our dars from today, which is that the next farida, the next obligation of deen that Ibn Abi Zayd mentions, is that it is incumbent on every believer to be a wali of the believers, to be a friend and a protector and a guardian of the believers, وَالنَّصِيحَةُ لَهُمْ, and to give them good advice. And the word nasiha, one of the meanings is good advice. And one of the meanings is ikhlas. And so Nafrawi rahimahullah ta'ala says عليهم وعلاة المؤمنين يعني أي موادة إخوانه, meaning what? That he should show love for his brothers. He should show love for his brothers. That you should show love for the ummah. It's not just like, yo, I'm cool, you know, and I don't really care what other people are doing and saying. I don't care who's harming who. I don't care who's being harmed. I don't care who's rich, who's poor. I got something to eat, you know. I don't care who's going hungry and who's whatever. That's their problem. I'm going to take care of number one. Number one is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What kind of thing is this to say? So this is a far just like praying. And there's some people, they do their prayers and they're halaliest of halal food, and they're, you know, they do their prayers with real good wudu and real this and that, and then they don't care what's going on with their neighbors. They don't care what's going on in the streets. They don't care about what's going on with others. Sheikh Amin made a very beautiful point in his Dars from the Risal Sharia, which I advise and recommend everybody listen to, which is that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the haqq of every child on his father, and this is mentioned by Qushayri in elucidating the fact that the tariq, how important having good adab and being good with others is in the tariq, and good akhlaq is, right? The Prophet ﷺ himself said that every child has 3 rights from his father, that the father should give him a good name, and the father should choose a good murdi'a, a good wet nurse for him to suckle from, meaning a woman who eats and drinks from halal, right? Again, come back to what you eat. Your diet is also spiritually, it's 80% diet and 20% exercise. And then the third is that he should teach him good adab. And, Sheikh Amin made the point that here it's not mentioned that you have to teach them the Fatiha correctly, or like teach them fiqh, or teach them, like how to line their beard up or something. All of those things are important. They're very important. They're actually part of the deen, right? But the first muqaddimat are what you have to make the person into a good person. And so here it's far. So sometimes we think about like deen as in like ritual observances, which it is ritual observances. I'm not trying to belittle those things. But Ibn Abi Zayd himself says, and he wrote a book about how, like the bulk of this book is how to properly perform your ritual observances. But he says that it's also farida, just like those things are important, and those things are farida as well. And they're commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that need to be respected and observed. Just like that, this is also farida, which is what? Is that you have to love one another. You have to be friends with one another. You have to guard one another. You have to be avid for one another's benefit and well-being. لحديث لا تحاسدوا ولا تباغضوا ولا تدابروا وكونوا عباد الله إخوانا. Don't be haters. Don't be jealous of one another all the time, and don't like hate one another, and scheming behind one another's backs. Or whatever tadabaru means here in particular, and wakunu ibadallahi ikhwana, and be the slaves of Allah. All of you be the slaves of Allah, those who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as brothers, meaning not only that all of you individually serve Allah, but I don't know you, I'm serving my Allah, you serve your Allah, that's you do your thing, I do mine. You have to be as brothers. We have to be all in it together. والمراد بموالاتهم الاجتماع عليهم وإظهار المحبة لهم. And the meaning of muwalatihim here is what is to get together for their sake, and to show mahabba, to show love to them. Let's show each other some love. Let's show each other some love. honor your brother. You know, it's okay. It's funny because, you know, I guess a lot of people like sarcastically make fun of when somebody you know, starts like, you know, grabbing a sibha and doing their weird that they call everyone CD and bhai and this and that. And we don't have to mock it so much. You don't have to mock everybody for everything. Sometimes some people do that as their way of showing respect for their mashayikh or for their brothers. And if that's what they're doing, then that is a good thing. Although they shouldn't be fake about it, but not everyone is fake about it. واجتناب ما يوجب المنافرة من الغل والحسد والعياذ بالله. And it means what is to stay away from all those things that make people hate one another, like wishing harm for others or not wishing well for others, or being jealous and envious of one another in a harmful way, meaning wishing other people to lose their blessings. May Allah be our protection. وليس المراد بموالاتهم مجرد الاجتماع بالأبدان العاري عن المحبة القلبية. And the meaning here of muwala is not just to get together in physical proximity, just in your bodies, that we all pray in the same masjid, and so look, we have muwala. That you should just get together, but your togetherness is naked of any love inside of the hearts. واعلم أن لين الجانبي معروفة بالتواضع على ثلاثة أقسام. And know that being soft in your interactions with people, which is known as tawadu', humility, has three different types. واجب كالتواضع لله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وللحاكم والعادل والوالد. There's obligatory type, which is humility for Allah and for His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and for the legitimate authorities of the Muslims, and for the person of knowledge, for the scholar, the alim. Interestingly enough, this one I guess many of us kind of skip. Wal walid, and for the parents. وحرام كالتواضع لأهل النار والظلم والكبر، لأن التواضع لهؤلاء هو الذي لا عز معه والخاصة التي لا رفعة معها. So he says, and then there's a haram tawadu, haram humility, which is a humility for the people of the fire, meaning people of kufr, and humility for the people of zulm, the transgressors and oppressors, and the humility for the people of arrogance, because being humble with those people, there is no honor in it, and it's not gonna benefit you. It's not gonna raise you at all. ومندوب كالتواضع لعباد الله تعالى سوى من ذكر. ومفهوم المؤمنين أن الكفار لا يجوز موالاتهم بالمعنى المذكور لقوله لا تجد قوما يؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر يوادون من حاد الله ورسوله ولو كانوا آبائهم أو أبنائهم أو إخوانهم أو عشيرتهم. At any rate, there is more explanation that he gives, but it seems that we're already over time, so we will save some of that for tomorrow. But the point is that we have to have tawadu for one another as an ummah, and that tawadu is in that tawadu and that mahabba and that muwala, that friendship and guardianship and love and humility for one another is in different darajat, but it is from the wajibat of deen. It's in different levels, but it is from the obligations of deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for whatever we said that we shouldn't have, or whatever we didn't say that we should have. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this love for the ummah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this friendship for it, and this guardianship for it, and this love for it, and this affection for it, and it's for its people, and save us from the love and affection, friendship and guardianship of those things that we're forbidden from affording those beautiful things too. وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم أجمعين والسلام.